it left behind. So, he sent the Rehir of Solnari to secretly hunt down the Crimson Moon's few remaining followers. In those days, Rerir showed no signs of madness. In fact, he was as normal as any other person. Oh, and he had a fiancé, or at least a would-be fiancé, called Felindis.
A would-be fiancé.
What's the matter?
Nako, it doesn't count you as here, by the way. Just letting you know.
Granddaughter! Felindis!
Interesting. Anything else? What about this would-be fiancé of his? Do we know anything about her?
Well, she was a researcher at the Universitas Magistrorum, but it felt like she was hiding some kind of secret.
Oh,
Interesting.
and one more thing. For some reason, Rerir's fragment also contains some of Felindis's memories, though only a very small portion.
Well, no shortage of potential leads, I'll give you that.
True that.
In any case, it sounds like we can conclude that while Felindis was still around, Rerir appeared to be lucid and quite normal.
Yep.
Felindis, it seems, must have been the one thing in this world that he couldn't let go of. Tell me, though, were these pure-blood Conorians we're talking about here?
Why do you need to know that? Hold on. If she was a pure-blood Conrian... Oh yeah! Just like how it was with the captain!
If we could somehow find her, do you think there's any chance Rerir might regain some of his sanity?
It's possible,
Hmm.
but it would take a miracle. We can't pin all our hopes on that.
Yeah, that's
That
true.
merchant who Nefer knows, Dori Sangama Bay. Maybe we could hire her to look into it.
All right, then. Let's
You
keep
guys
working
are
in our
spending
separate
a
teams.
pretty penny on this.
Traveler, Paimon, Kutar, and Miss Arlecchino will go look for the iridescent moon's marrow. As for the others,
On the way over here, I noticed that the Wild Hunt monsters had grown even more frenzied in their search for Kutar. At this rate, the people living here will be in grave danger too. So I'm
Alrighty.
thinking of gathering together some of our followers to go wipe them out.
I'll head back to the curatorium and meet up with the boss.
feels good knowing we've all got something to be getting on with. Given that the Wild Hunt has been a lot more active lately, the Lightkeepers have likely begun their own operations too.
It really seems like
If that is the
Arlie could
case,
probably just
someone
take
will
it,
need to
right?
pass the news on to
Or
Flint.
is he too strong for that
I'll
now?
hold the fort for now. Then discuss our next move with Flint's, Ino, and Anefa when they get back.
All right then.
Well, the clock's ticking. If that's everything, we'll be on our way.
We'd better get moving too. We'll try to buy you as much time as we can.
Relax. Just do your thing. Now, I decided to call in some backup since things are getting so hairy.
So
Our
who are we getting
reinforcements
now?
should be here any minute now.
What new
Stay
characters
safe,
are we
everyone.
getting?
Dismissed.
Calling in backup? Is Benny gonna be here? He's from Mondstadt.
We're back.
Okay.
Did we get here a little early? Or a little late?
A tad late. The others have already set off. To summarize, our resident moon goddess has found us a new ally, and Boss Nefer has uncovered some promising info. Everything going smoothly on your end?
Not great. I don't know how long we can stall them for. The decoys are getting taken out way faster than we imagined. I'm gonna make some more later, but I need a timeout first. I'm so tired right now. Oh, right! Inefa, could you fill in Uncle Varka on what we just discussed with Flint's?
Sure. Uncle
Must be
Varka,
nice.
you previously told us about how when you went to investigate a source of the Wild Hunt in Amsfart near, you discovered that it was just a diversion. But according to Flint's intel, several outbreaks of the Wild Hunt had already occurred in Notcry in the period leading up to that. That was before Rerir had regained his body, when he was far from regaining his full strength. In other words, in theory at least, he still lacked the means to act in two places at once.
Okay.
Flint, with everything that's been happening, the Lightkeepers across Notcry are rallying to fight back against the Wild Hunt. They're gonna need your help. I know, I'm sure you're capable of coming up with something far more effective than decoys. But for now, you should stay here and get some rest. And Effa and I will head back over to Amsfarnir to see if there's anything I missed.
I told you Uncle Varka would say that, didn't I? A deal is a deal. Not a word about my snack intake for the next week.
Database updated. Reliability of Aino's predictions increased.
What does that mean?
Don't bet against Aino.
They were betting on how you'd respond after hearing their intel.
It's the obvious choice, isn't it? That's hardly worth betting on.
True.
We already decided that Anefa should go investigate the situation over at Amsfarnir on her own. You might as well stay here and keep watch. Someone needs to hang back and oversee our strategy meetings. And besides, you still haven't fully recovered from ambushing Rerir.
So I've ended up with the easiest assignment. Well, I appreciate it, everyone. See you when you get back.
Now we have 4 teams. Is that other girl gonna come, the marionette? Is she gonna come out and help us too? Because
Here, this will serve
she
as a
just
good
wants
spot to
to-
cross over.
Arlecchino, hold up a second. Since you brought us all this way, would you mind telling us what you've got planned? We still haven't got the slightest idea what's going on here. And if even Columbina doesn't know where the iridescent moon's marrow is, how do you?
Simple. Because I am an inheritor of the royal bloodline of the Crimson Moon. And one of the last surviving embers of the Two Worlds Flames.
Huh? Are you serious? As in, you're a descendant of that Crimson Moon
makes
dynasty we were
sense.
just talking about? The one from ancient Conria?
Your surprise is understandable. I was also taken aback when I first learned of it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized the signs had been there all along. When I was young, I discovered I could wield a very special kind of fire. It coursed like blood through my veins and smoldered away inside my nerves. What's more, whenever I experienced strong bursts of emotion or drew too deeply on this power, it was like some kind of presence within the fire would begin to gnaw away at me, consuming me from the inside out. Exactly. That is why my hands are like this too. At first, I saw it only as a curse, but once I became a harbinger, the Jester apprised me of the truth. Together with my own investigations over the past few years, there are several things that I have gradually come to understand. For
Okay.
instance, take the so-called Crimson Moon. In truth, it is nothing more than the shattered remnants of the iridescent moon, fused with the abyss to prolong its lifespan.
Oh,
Since this blood
okay.
flame was bestowed upon me by the Crimson Moon, it is a fusion of the iridescent moon's former power and the corruption of the abyss. You all understand the nature of the abyss well enough. I draw upon its power, and in return, it hungers for my soul.
That's
This
wow,
strange
okay.
blackness is the mark of corruption it has left behind.
If I recall correctly, you once told me that if the corruption ever made it to your heart, you'd become a completely different person.
Yes, and that's the reason I'm always careful not to push my power too far. It's essentially a never-ending tug of war.
Oh, sounds intense.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, the rest of my story can wait.
That would be an interesting
Is there
gimmick.
anything else about the Crimson Moon
If
or
you
the
use a
iridescent
person's
moon that
power
you
too
are
much,
unclear about?
They would not listen to your controls and just do random stuff.
The Crimson Moon that the Carians used to worship was actually the iridescent moon, right? Which was one of the 3 moon sisters. Does that mean that the Carians were to the Crimson Moon as the Frost Moon Scions are to the Frost Moon?
So much of that history has been lost. We have no way of knowing exactly what they were like. But I would suspect that the Conrians weren't as devout in their moon worship as it might appear. The iridescent moon's remains simply served as their link to the Abyss. Later on, perhaps someone discovered a way to make direct contact with the Abyss. Or maybe there was some kind of ideological divide. Either way, a dissenting faction staged a coup and drove out the royal heirs of the Crimson Moon dynasty. Still, even with the dark sun looming high overhead, the Crimson Moon's glow never truly faded. If you want living proof, it's standing right before you.
The first time we met, I sensed something familiar in your presence. When I looked at you, I felt I could see that mysterious red moon in the corner of my eye. In your flames, I saw its broken image, surrounded by a strange black aura.
Well, I appreciate that you kept it to yourself. Much about the Crimson Moon is still a mystery, and I'd prefer not to end up as the object of an insane research project.
Yeah.
Anyway, time is against us here, so if there's any other questions, they'll have to wait. I just want to make sure I've got one thing straight. In her letter, Sandrone mentioned that since you are unable to contain the iridescent moon's marrow yourself, you intend to leave it in my custody. Correct?
That's right. For now, it's the only way I can pay you back for your help. The iridescent moon is already part of who you are. So with its marrow in your
Does this mean
possession,
Arlie is getting a
you'll
buff?
be even more powerful
hope
than
not.
before.
Deal. Then let's get started.
Get what started? What does this place have to do with the Crimson Moon?
When I first became a Harbinger, the Jester gave me a book called Harry, also known as Leobranto Innamorato.
Those are some big
You
words
should
I
be able
will
to buy
never
a
be
copy
able
next
to
time you're in
say.
Fontaine. It's a love story set in the Crimson Moon era, but setting aside the tangled romances of its characters, it also records a few interesting details. In the Crimson Moon era, or so the story goes, there was an orphanage that received children from beyond the bounds of this world, and subjected them to a peculiar induction ceremony.
Beyond the bounds of this world? For real? And what kind of induction ceremony?
The Crimson Moon Sages looked beyond this world for beings with powers that surpassed the gods. But fearing they might lose control, they subjected these children to a process of refinement. They made these children crawl up a fireplace and kept asking them, "Have you died? Did you see it?" Until they finally admitted to having died and seen a crimson moon. The adults embraced
harsh.
the children who passed the ritual, telling them, "Within the fireplace, you have traversed the flames between two worlds. Here and now, you are born anew." The book leaves much unsaid, but I suspect that this was their way of branding the children they had enrolled, leaving an indelible mark upon them so that they would forever live in the Crimson Moon's light.
That explains why I can't sense the Crimson Moon's marrow in this world. It makes sense that it would be sealed in a special space that can only be accessed temporarily through some kind of ritual.
But there's no fireplace here. Do you see a chimney anywhere?
Paimon,
Oh.
really?
Are we supposed to build it ourselves? Okay, fine. Paimon will go find some bricks.
That won't be necessary.
Paimon!
The fireplace is purely symbolic. The key to the ritual is crossing the flames between two worlds. In other words, the flames that burn within me. Those burned away by such flames leave behind a kind of ghostly afterimage in the world. In the days of Conria, people believed they could be used to bridge the gap between the two worlds of life and death. In short, I can open
Sometimes
a
Paimon has
passage to
stuff
that
that's
space
really
for
smart.
you.
And other times not.
That's the easy part. The catch is I'll need to stay on this side to keep the passage open, so I won't be able to come with you.
Don't
Very
worry.
well. Then I'll open it up.
Traveler, spare me a little more moonlight if you would. I may need it.
I mean, it is your moon.